It was March of 2002. I was about to graduate from Terrebonne High School, and I was kind of bored, actually. I was bored because during my high school career, we had what's called 4x4 scheduling. If any of y'all remember 4x4 scheduling, instead of taking 7 classes throughout the entire year, you took 4 classes in the fall and 4 classes in the spring. And they gave you an extra class every year. And what that meant is that you actually had enough credits to graduate. If you passed every class, you had enough credits to graduate after your junior year. But the only reason why you couldn't graduate was because you needed English 4, and you couldn't take English 4 until your senior year. And so I was literally waiting around an extra year to take English 4, which I couldn't take until the spring semester. And I did pretty well in school, so the first 2 quarters of English 4, I did pretty well. The last quarter, though, I was supposed to write a paper. I think it was a book report on Macbeth, the scripture, not the scripture, the Shakespeare play, excuse me. Macbeth is definitely not scripture. And I looked at my grades, and I noticed that if I made an A for the class, it didn't matter. If I made a C for the class, it didn't matter. My GPA was going to remain the same because of all the credits that I had accumulated over the years. So I just decided, well, I did enough for the class. I'm not going to write the report. And I didn't write the report. My teacher almost failed me because I didn't write the report. But she gave me a D for the quarter, and I ended up with a C for the class. And I thought I was pretty smooth at that moment. What I didn't realize was the reason why she wanted me to write a book report was because when I went to Nichols the following semester, I had to write 3 book reports for the first English class that I took. And I struggled mightily. I struggled because, honestly, I didn't know how to write at that time. I didn't know how to write at the time because I didn't allow myself to enter into that book report. I got lazy. I didn't keep the main thing. And because of that, I struggled. My brothers and sisters, Deacon Timmy did not miss a few lines in the gospel today. That is literally the gospel for today. It is 5 lines, and it is very short. And when we hear a gospel like this, I think it's easy for us to kind of get some mixed connotations because, very honestly, when you only hear 5 lines of a gospel, then you think that's the whole gospel. The truth is that's just 3 verses of the chapter 10 of John's gospel. And we're listening to the Good Shepherd narrative. What we can understand from this is when we hear lines like, "No one can take my sheep out of my hands," that gives us a connotation that we're either saved or we're not saved, right? We're either the sheep of God or we're not the sheep of God. And it doesn't matter what we do in this life, we're always going to be the sheep of God or not the sheep of God. The truth is, and that's what they call predestination. And as a church, we don't believe in predestination because we also believe in gospel or scripture passages like the letter from St. James that said, "Show me a faith without works and I'll show you a faith as dead." Or St. Paul's letters that say, "Work out your faith in fear and trembling," meaning we're in a process of working out our faith, meaning God does know who is saved and who is not saved, but he gives us all an opportunity to be God's sheep, to be Jesus Christ's sheep. We all have an opportunity to listen to the shepherd's voice and to follow after him. But we have to understand also that this life isn't just about today giving mom breakfast in bed, or isn't about just living the best life that you can live or doing whatever you want in this life. The truth is, this life is preparation for what's to come. It's preparation for heaven. And I don't know what your connotation of what heaven looks like, but in a basic form, heaven is communion with God, right? It is where we see God face to face. It's not where I can eat unlimited blueberry pancakes all day long. It's not where I can just do whatever I want. Sometimes I feel like we think that I'm just going to live a good life right now so that I can live better, or I can live and do whatever I want in heaven. No, the things, the virtues that you build up right now will be used in heaven. Why? Because they're the virtues that God has given us. They're the grace that God has given us in that way. And so, my brothers and sisters, as we come to the table of the Lord, I think we have to acknowledge what is heaven to us. Where are we going and how are we preparing to get there? Because if we're just living a life like this, then we're not listening to the shepherd's voice. We're not working out our faith in fear and trembling. We're not activating the faith that is within us, and we're instead showing a dead faith. But if we're living the life that Jesus has given us, the values that Jesus has taught us, And we're following the shepherd's voice. And I hope you know when you follow the shepherd to the kingdom of heaven.